Dear Nobody, people always say New Year, New Me. But what about New Year improved me? Happy New Year, everyone! Today marks the very first episode of 2026. Oh my god, can you believe it? Okay, so where do I begin? As I said in my prologue, I think New Year, New Me sometimes is confusing and can be very destructive at times because what's wrong with being the same you as before? If you like the last year's version of yourself, then I don't think it's necessary to become a whole new you. It just doesn't make any sense. Also, a new year doesn't magically make a new you. I think that's much more helpful if we say New Year improved me, because then you don't need to be a completely different person from before. But definitely, like in life, there's always gonna be something that we can improve for ourselves. Every new year, everyone wants to have their new beginnings, starting with writing down their goals and hoping they would change for the better. How does that work exactly? Well, for sure, we cannot change into someone that we wanted to become or someone we aspire to be in just 24 hours. It just doesn't make any sense. All of this has to do with a lot of discipline and routine. Everyone wants that healthy summer body goal. Everyone wants a good relationship with themselves, having a better life quality, better career, and being healthier. We all want that life. But are we actually willing to work for it? Like anything in life, we have to really work hard in order to achieve them. Sometimes it can be given to us magically, but most of the time it's just pure hard work and lots of discipline to build that into a good routine. To deal with our generation or our time right now, we all want to see the results right away without ever lifting a finger. It's similar to when we see an artist rising and when they're finally catching up to A-listers artist names, suddenly people look at you differently and they will always say like, "Wow, they're famous because they opened for this big name." They're always gonna make some excuses for your success. People only recognize you when you're already at the top, but they don't know how hard you've worked behind the scenes. The steps you have to do just to get to that point in life, they don't know. They just like to comment without seeing the work that you've done along the way. And you might encounter mean people. They will say what you're doing is easy, but just keep your head straight in the game because they don't know what they're talking about. Remember, don't take advices from people who are falling apart. Why is it hard to make a good habit routine? Well, if it's not hard, everyone would be living in their best life right now. It is designed to be hard and challenging because in the end of all of the challenges, you'll feel more achieved and fuller than if, let's say, deal with it in a very minimal effort. When you're achieving something with your hard, honest work, the result will seem very impactful and deserving. It's not our bodies, it's our minds. Our bodies are stronger than we think, and sometimes our minds are pulling tricks on us. We think our body is exhausted, but you can definitely push through and still walk another mile. And by saying walking another mile is because I was just thinking about this one time I had a phase of walking everywhere in New York City, and I had a goal of going from 34th Street into like 120th Street. On those days, I remember I had so many moments where my brain thinks that I'm tired, like physically tired, that I need to take rest or like use the subway and just basically be done with that goal. Oh my god, the train. My brain is telling me just to give up. So one time I walked from 50th Street, and the furthest I have ever walked was until 86th Street. If you are unaware of how Manhattan streets are made, they're fully organized by street numbers and avenue numbers. Streets are vertical. It's like north to south, south being the lowest numbers and north is the highest. And then the avenue numbers are from west to east. I believe west is the largest number, I think until 11th Avenue. And then the first avenue is like near Brooklyn, which is the far east of Manhattan. So most of the time, going to 100 streets have a lot of elevation on the grounds. I don't know why. I think it's just built like that. The ground is just higher. So my achievement is walking straight 36 streets. For me, walking past 86th Street was like something impossible. By the time, I would always feel very tired since I always stop on that street. But guess what? One time I did keep on walking just to see if I'm actually able to pass 86th Street, or is my mind just pulling tricks on me, thinking that I'm tired, but I'm not actually. And so I did that. And I passed through and actually went to 92nd Street. It is remarkable how our bodies are stronger than we think they are. They're far more capable than we portray them to be. You know, sometimes all we need is a little bit of faith and push for the better you. Do not limit and box yourself because that will hinder your full potential. Ooh, I like what I said there. Cannot believe I just said that. I think I'm gonna frame that in my wall and just keep reminding that I actually said that. Don't limit and box yourself because that will hinder your full potential. Sally Yapto 2026. If you need to write it down, go write it down somewhere. By the way, I'm so sorry if it's noisy because outside a lot of people and it's New York. You're gonna hear sirens and everything, so I'm really sorry about that. Okay, continuing. Every single time we go through a new year, we always tend to overdone our list of goals. And that can lead us into being overwhelmed. And later, we will put everything down and say goodbye to our new goals list. This is very common to a lot of people. And researchers have said that people tend to keep with their goals, like New Year resolutions, for only 3 months. And then they just put it down. So you're not alone in this. It's hard. That's why a lot of people cannot continue with it. And in fact, I was like this too last year, where I was journaling every single day, and that was one of my New Year's resolution goals. And that actually helps me with like journaling my thoughts or what happened in that day or my feelings and everything. I think that really helps. So I did it until around like day 160 or even more. You know what? I don't remember. I don't even have the book anymore. It's back home. I don't know. I just kept it back home in Indonesia. So around those days, I don't know when, but I just couldn't do it anymore. I was traveling, and sometimes when you travel, you just don't really have the time and energy, especially at night, to unravel everything. Because you have to like choose pictures from your travel, you want to like lay down, you want to have that. It's different when you're traveling and when you're home, because when you're home, you know exactly what you want to do, the habits or like the routines that you always go through before you go to sleep. But with traveling, I feel like it's completely different because your routines are not always the same, and suddenly you just have a lot of things to do more than before. And so I never ended up writing any. I would just write the dates and say that I will write it tomorrow. But that became a whole train of days that I never really picked it up anymore. So I ended up missing more than, I think, 10 days. And that's the end of that. So I gotta be better at that, I guess. A daily short journal is always nice to do though, like the important stuff that happens. or what you're feeling and trace back to that. I think that will be really helpful one day when we're bored and old and wanted to relive our young life again. I always adore people who can do that type of scrapbook journaling, or I think it's called junk journaling, if I'm not wrong. I'm sure they require a lot of effort and energy, and I kudos to whoever are doing junk journaling because I don't know, I wanted to do that, but I know it requires a lot of effort, time, and energy, and I just cannot bring myself to do them. So I like watching people do it, and I might get into it as a new hobby, but I'm not sure. And that brings back to my first ever point in the earlier part of this episode, where I talked about how people just love instant result or instantaneousness. I don't know if that's a word. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. It's a noun without actually working for it. Yeah, that's also me, honestly. Okay, I'm way off board now. But what we were talking about, just keep it light and do something doable first. Just do one thing, and until you build that habit, then you can either build more habits or increase the intensity of that current one that you're already doing. And yeah, perfection is nonsense for habits. It's the enemy of building a habit. You can never have any perfection, especially doing something for the first time. It's okay to be messy and not always have it like your end goal. As long as you're already stepping your way into doing it, that's more than enough. Just keep it rational in your head. Don't just say, like, oh, I'm gonna work out every day doing cardio, core, and muscles. Like, please, like, set something realistic first. This is something that's not heavily talked about because I'm also guilty of this. Most of the time, I always put goals that are not realistic because in my mind, I am capable to do that. But it's just I would be really running on a high speed, heavy duty machine every single day. And in that case, I would be already a factory machine. And I don't think I can survive doing that kind of intensity every single day. I might just pass out or even fall into a depression. So even for me, I also need to rationale my daily goals and build a good habit and not to overstep that line limit, because I know for sure if I overstep that one limit, I everything will fall apart and all of my building habits is going to go to waste. So my suggestion is to just keep one goal and just work on it. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be consistent and something that is within your reach. And you know that you can do that every single day or something consistent until you get a good balance between your goals and the things in life that you have to do, because in reality we're not just one thing, we're always something else. Like for me, I'm a student, but I'm not just a student. I'm also a daughter, I'm also a teacher for my students, I'm a girlfriend, I'm a pianist, I'm doing this podcast. Like, we're all a lot of things in one body, and we need to keep everything in balance. Like, just check yourself and make sure that you're balancing it in the correct manners. I can go on and on about this topic, and there's still a lot more that I want to talk about. But in this episode, it's getting way too long. So unfortunately, I have to cut it short. But we can definitely talk about this again in the future. Before we close this episode and say goodbye to our lovely 2025, I would like to say my wishes for you all and for my own in 2026 is to have a good, healthy life. Because without a good health, we're nothing, basically. There are some things that I hope to have in this new year of 2026. is to be filled with wisdom, love, courage, saying yes more often, leaving my comfort zone to become a better person, and trying and working as best as I can for my last semester of my master's degree. And also experiencing the city to the fullest while taking care of myself. The bottom line of this whole wish is work hard and live hard. That's literally it. It's been fun talking about this specific topic of building habits because it is something that I'm working on too. So, just a reminder, if you're struggling with building a habit, you're not alone. I'm also working on it too, and I know it's hard, but we can do this, okay? I hope this episode shed a light on you. And if you like this kind of topic, let me know in the comments, or you can also rate the podcast. As always, new episodes on Thursdays available on all platform wherever you listen your podcast to. You can write an anonymous letter or thoughts to me at Dear Nobody Podcast Instagram bio link. If you want, you can also follow us there. Thank you so much for hanging out today. And remember, make sure you have a short, doable list that you want to make a habit out of for this new year. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just keep it light and simple. It's no longer New Year, New Me, but it's New Year, Improved Me. That's it for today. Have a lovely and blessed new year, and I will talk to you next week.